Here to discuss, News Nation political contributor Kurt Bardella. Kurt, always good to have you. Thank you for joining us tonight. So, lawmakers have to reach this deal on DHS funding by Friday, as you know, to avoid a shutdown. Senate Majority Leader John Thune said on Thursday, we aren't anywhere close to having any sort of agreement. So do you think it is possible we see a deal on this in a week?
No, it seems like they're really far apart right now. And there's even little appetite to do another short term continuing resolution to keep punting this down the line. Democrats, the more that this has progressed and the further that we've gotten into this, seem even more entrenched and emboldened even to defy the White House, to defy congressional Republicans. They put their list of demands out there the other day. It was a very lengthy list, more than people even expected. And they feel right now that the political winds are with them, that immigration has become a liability politically for Donald Trump and Republicans. The majority of independent voters have soured on them. We've seen a couple different elections that have happened in the last few weeks that have swung majorly towards Democrats, whether it be in Texas or there was one last night that swung plus 30. So they feel like they have the political headwinds here and that Republicans are in a really tough spot between wanting to stay loyal to that MAGA base, that MAGA faithful to Donald Trump, but also, they might run the risk of alienating the voters they need to protect their majority come November.
I want to ask you also, because there are some Republicans in Congress trying to block any spending package until they get a vote on new election laws. And Democrats in the Senate have said they'll use the filibuster to block any of this proposed legislation. So how much do you see this issue complicate avoiding a shutdown at the same time?
Yeah, nothing can ensure a shutdown than trying to contaminate the current debate by adding election stuff into it. I mean, you might as well just make it the most political, hot button issue possible by throwing in measures that Democrats simply are designed to suppress election turnout. They're designed to prop up Republicans and their majority at the expense of Democrats, that make it harder for people to vote. This has been part of a much broader fight that we've seen really since January 6th of Republicans systemically trying to change the way people can participate in the election process, and Democrats fighting that. You want to make sure that you get 0 Democrat votes, which you need to pass this, throw in these election measures, and that will guarantee a shutdown.
Well, and I want to ask you, because there are Republicans making the reverse argument, saying that they want to shore up election integrity so that more people are encouraged to vote. Democrats have made the argument there are financial barriers at the same time for some voters to hit the polls and present an ID. So on the Hill, this was the response from a Republican Congressman, Brian Stile, on that issue in particular.
If there's an individual that doesn't have an ID, there 100% needs to be a mechanism for that person to get an ID without a charge. We want to make sure that more people are voting, not less. And I think instilling this confidence will actually result in more people coming to the polls.
So do you see an idea like this making any inroads with the left?
All due respect, that's delusional. If we wanted more people participating in the election, we wouldn't see the Republicans trying to systemically stop mail-in voting in this country, which makes it very easy and accessible for anyone to participate in the process. And Republicans are really creating this boogeyman that doesn't exist. We do not have a problem in America with people who are not supposed to vote voting in our elections. The 2020 election is the most litigated election in the history of our country. And in every single court case, there was no grounds to overturn the results. There was no evidence put forward that was deemed credible enough in a court of law to say that there were illegal people in, hurting the election process. And I love these Republicans who make the case on one hand that Democrats are so sinister that they tried to rig the election. And then on the flip side of it, they were so incompetent by having this old, doddled, dementia-ridden Joe Biden running the country. It's like, which one is it? Is he some mastermind that masterminded the takeover of our elections? And oh, by the way, if Democrats were going to do that, why would they allow a Republican majority to exist in the House and the Senate and to win the White House? It doesn't add up.
All right, so that is very similar to an argument that was made on the Democratic side of the aisle on the Hill, and I want to get to that soundbite. But first, Republicans, I just want to outline some of the legislation that they are supporting now. They're supporting both the SAVE Act, and then some Republicans taking this a step further with the Make Elections Great Again Act. And one key difference between the two is that the SAVE Act requires voter ID to register. The Make Elections Great Again Act requires voter ID to vote, among a slew of other items that are on the screen now. So this was Congressman Glenn Ivey. He was on the Hill earlier today. Here's what he said.
they still haven't established that it would address any fraud that's out there, because guess what? They've never demonstrated any kind of fraud in the electoral system. Remember when Trump tried to argue that 60 courts across the country, federal and state, Democrat, Republican, all rejected it entirely. So, it's a solution in search of a problem in one big way. And the other part is what I just said. If they really want to be credible on this, they need to make sure that they're doing everything they can to move away from the lies about 2020.
So Congressman Style fired back on this panel to that idea, essentially saying that the Biden administration had let millions of illegal aliens cross the border, that election laws had been relaxed since that time, and also doubling down on the argument that you need a photo ID to pick up alcohol. This is commonplace, so why is it not applied in a voter setting? What are your thoughts on some of those claims and then the pushback, as you heard there?
Well, I just go back to, again, if Democrats are masterminding some election fraud effort, then why are Republicans in power right now? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. And also with some of these GOP measures like the SAM Act, what it doesn't take into account, which is not surprising since men wrote these laws, is the fact that a lot of women, they change their name. That when they get married, their name doesn't match what their birth certificate says or what their passport might have said. And so under the SAFE Act that Republicans put forward, those women who changed their name because they got married wouldn't be eligible to vote. They wouldn't actually pass the ID requirements that they're putting in place to participate in our election process. This is not thought out. This is not good public policy. This will do nothing but disenfranchise participation in the election process, which is exactly the point, because Republicans know that when the playing field is level, there's more of us than there are of them.
All right. Well, I think many would take issue on that on the other side. But Kurt Bardella, we have to leave it there. And it's always great to see you. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Well, coming up, dangerously cold wind chills, high winds, they are gripping the Northeast, where we are seeing record-breaking temperatures amid this Arctic blast.